Okay. The following are the entries of a blog that is constantly updated. The blog seems to talk about a show called Appy. February 23rd, 2011. Hello. I will be using you because I am discovering about a show called Appy. Sometime during 1999, after Noggin was launched, Nickelodeon aired a new show on their program called Appy. Sounds like some nursery rhyme that a babysitter would sing, but it wasn't. It was a short show, 10 minutes, and was normally played in duets, making each episode 20 minutes, minus commercials. A month after it premiered, it was pulled off the air and they never aired again, even its nicer episodes. However, some parents did record the show, but they were VHS copies. But of those VHS copies, only some VHS copies survived. However, what was really rare was an intact DVD copy of any episode. I was one of the lucky ones that had a DVD copy. Yesterday, when I did some spring cleaning recently, okay, winter spring cleaning, but who cares, found some old DVDs with a Sharpie on them. They read HA 1 through 10. I did some research using Google and on Roblox, unfortunately. I found out that those were the initials for Appy. In the replies, they said that there are no DVD copies around, which is false because I have some copies. So I decided to put them into the disk drive, praying for them to work. Well, they did, and they instantly cut into the intro. By the way, I haven't described the show, have I? Well, there's this giant clay apple with hands and feet being held up by a rusty bent stick. He helped children when they got hurt. But as the show progressed, it just got creepier, like a death stare and evil smile creepier. However, they did change the stick into a non-rusted, but still bent stick. By the 8th episode, he wasn't even a clay model. He looked like he was CG, but he wasn't. Probably a very good animation? To describe more about the color of Appy, his eyes were dark blue, his mouth was dark green, and he had a leaf on his head. His intro song had the same tune as Mary Had a Little Lamb. It went something like this. Appy, 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 App, Appy, App, Appy, App, Appy, 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 App. He helps kids all day. Repeated 3 times. Anyway, enough with that. Let's describe the actual show episodes. Episode 1 and 2 were called Happy's Vacation and Hurt Appy, respectively. Happy's Vacation was exactly what you thought. Appy going on vacation and helping injured kids at the beach. Hurt Appy was Appy getting hurt, and the kids helping him by giving him band-aids and fruit, which is weird because they gave him an apple in one part. Nothing seemed out of place when I first saw it, but when I saw it a second time, it looked very odd. While Appy was driving his van in Happy's Vacation, some frames were skipped. I ignored it, saying that it could be a scratched DVD, but when I checked it, it wasn't scratched. Also, I noticed some out-of-place objects in Hurt Appy. In Happy's van, there was what looked like the border of the Hope poster. Also, the radio plays a country music-esque version of Hot and Cold, which was made in 2008, and very out of place for a kid's show. I thought these were, just coincidence. Well, I was wrong. Episode 3 and 4 were stranger. One moment that could send chills down anyone's spine was the boo-boo scene in episode 4. Appy is a child that has a bruise on his knee, and then he looks at the camera, death stare on his face, and says, "What does Nate need?" I think that was his name. It wasn't Kevin. What does Nate need for his boo-boo? For 30 seconds, he stared at the camera motionless, his dark blue, soulless eyes locking on with anyone watching. Finally, he spoke. "That's right! A Band-Aid!" Why did he need that long to speak? I don't know. The intros were cut out and the main episodes were missing a few scenes. On episode 3, 5:12 minutes in, is when he did his first death stare / evil smile. For 30 seconds. It was somewhat eerie. Also, the out-of-place objects were getting more noticeable. There was a news broadcast about a tsunami that recently struck Japan. Appy said, "Oh no, if you want to help the Japanese, call this number." And a 1-800 number was listed. February 24th, 2011. I watched episode 5. First off, it had Appy on his new stick. This episode was very violent. In the episode, Appy was doing his trademark death stare and smile for half the show. Afterwards, he helped two children. The first one he took out of sight behind a bush. Blood is seen from the bush and screams are heard. The other kid waits for Appy, and then he's seen emerging from the back of her, and it skips frames. Next thing I see is a blood trail leading to another bush, and Appy doing that damn smile. Episode 6 showed Appy doing a death stare, but it was hardly viewable. Then it went static for the rest of the show. I couldn't believe it. I moved on to episode 7 and 8. This time the episodes were so violent, so badly made that they couldn't have been aired on Nick. Episode 7 had Appy take a kid into his van. Flesh cutting could be heard, and so could blood splatters on the window and screams, which turned into gurgles. Then he emerged, doing a death stare and smile from 9:21 to the end of the show, or 10 minutes. Like I said, 8 had him be a CG-ish monster, but this episode was so coincidental. I couldn't believe Nick would even allow it. Starts out with Appy going around the playground telling kids about the cycle of life. By cycle of life I meant frogs and plants. The kids then said, "Thanks, Appy," but then smoke creeped behind Appy so that Appy and the kids turned around. 2 towers, 9/11 mentioned in 1999, were burning up with people falling off. There was a lot of screaming, fire, and a crashed airplane. The tail could be seen sticking out of one of the towers. I could hear a faint whining noise, and I think that it was the plane. Then a piece broke off, hitting and possibly killing someone. When the kid asked, "Appy, what are the towers doing?" it cut to a kid that was stuck under a huge metal piece crying for help. Some other kids tried to help him, but he was screaming so loud it was almost heartbreaking. There was blood everywhere, and the fear on his face was so realistic. I cringed. Appy turned to the camera, and just like the photo in the top right-hand corner, said these 3 words: "That's natural, children." He then dragged them away, leaving the trapped kid screaming. I jumped out of my seat. Was Appy a death bringer of some sort? Or was he a master predictor? I had to continue. Episodes 9 and 10 were up. Oh, and you want to know what happened when I called that phone number? Tomorrow I decided I would call it. February 25th, 2011. Just a quick thing. I called the phone number mentioned on episode 3. It was a recording, which I will translate for you. "Hello, I'm Happy Appy, every kid's most helpful apple. If you want to make a donation, press 1. If you want to know about this earthquake, press 2. Pressing 2 gave me this. An earthquake and tsunami hit Japan, and we need your help. If you can make a donation of 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, or $100, you'll be a big help. Anyone who donates gets a Happy Appy badge." So I decided to press 1 and donate $1 to the donation. It then said this: "Thanks for your help with the aid for the tsunami. Now in the mail you'll get your Happy Appy badge in a week."